What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into another Triple Play Fantasy Start Sit show on this beautiful October Sunday morning. D. Mendy here, half of this crew, of course, joined by Mr. Jacob Dunn. Dunn standing for he's Dunn gonna go have his team go 4-0 this week. Those Denver Broncos. How you feeling, Jacob?
Feeling great, my man. Yeah, as you said, man, Broncos are going 4-0 today, and I'm actually going to be at that game. I'm leaving right after this to go and to tailgate, but first we need to win you guys your week 4. So let's go.
Oh, wait, way to bury the lead, man. I had no idea. We talked for 2 or 3 minutes before we go on here, and you don't even mention you're going to the game. That's awesome, man.
I wanted to surprise you, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm jealous. I'm sure Mile High atmosphere is electric. The
Heck
Ravens
yeah,
coming in there, and should be a good game. It's gonna obviously be your guys' toughest test yet. But if you guys can win today, then I think people have to start talking if you guys are for real.
Exactly. We have steamrolled some 3 easy teams, but now it's the true test. So I'm excited to watch Lamar Jackson, like more than anything. But hopefully the Broncos prove themselves today.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very fun to watch, and it's going to be a great game there. So without further ado, let's get to what everybody came here for, of course, and that is the start sits. As you know, again, Jacob is the quarterback whisperer, one of the best last year, one of the top 5 best quarterback accuracy rankers. So he's very knowledgeable. You should listen to what he says, and we're going to hear what he says right now as we start with our first question here. And their first question, as you know every single week, what we're going to do, of course, before I forget, is we're going to read them that come in the live stream first. And if at that point there's no live stream questions, we're going to go the ones that were asked on Twitter. So the first Twitter question I'm going to go to is, would you rather start TJ Hockenson or Logan Thomas?
Okay, so I think this is a bit of an overreaction question. I think you're still starting TJ Hockenson. He is a top 5 set and forget option. I think that last week's, like two catches for 10 yards was just an anomaly. I'm going with Hockenson and just rolling with him.
Unless you have Travis Kelce or Darren Waddle or Darren Waller.
I like that. Jalen.
You're pretty much playing him every week regardless. I know it's the Matthew Berry saying, don't get cute. Like if you have TJ Hockenson, you're plugging him in each and every single week. And don't put him on your bench. Second question here, should I start Allen Robinson or Juju Smith-Schuster? Now, Chase Claypool has been ruled out, so it's going to be Juju and Deontay Johnson there. What do you think?
I still can't trust Juju completely. So I'm going to go with Allen Robinson. I know he has been stinking so far this year, but he has an incredibly easy matchup against the Lions this week. And if he doesn't produce this week, then we can talk about benching him. But if you're ever going to start Allen Robinson, it is this week against the Lions. So I'm going with A-Rob.
I think it's an A-Rob week. I'm right there with you, Jacob. 2 for 2.
That's right.
Having a tough time. Our next question, deciding between Danny Dimes or Jameis Winston as Superflex going against each other today in New Orleans. I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards Jameis Winston with that home crowd behind them at first time in the. Yeah. So I think that he is going to have the atmosphere behind him for him to play better. Danny Dimes obviously has only thrown, I think, 1 interception in his last 9 games, but something about me says that the Giants are going to have a really tough time against that vaunted Saints D. Who are you going with, Jacob?
And I agree with you 100% that the Giants are going to have a really tough time today. I think that the Saints defense is a smash play in DFX, in all of your lineups. But I lean towards Danny Dimes just because of his rushing floor. I think that he's going to have to run for his life all game. He might not throw some touchdowns, but he's going to get those rushing stats. And I can't forget about Winston's dud games where he just looks completely awful. I do like what you said. They are in New Orleans with that crowd since the hurricane. Like, I love all that. But I would feel safer with Danny Dimes instead of Winston, but you can talk me out of Danny Dimes any day of the week. I just lean Danny Dimes, but if you want to go Winston and just trust your gut, I understand.
Well, again, Jacob's going Danny Dimes here. So again, if you look into his track record, that might be a good way to go. And he did bring a good point with the Danny Dimes in his legs being a factor in there too. Next question, who sits? You got Antonio Brown, Robert Woods, or Trey Sermon, half PPR. Obviously, no Elijah Mitchell today. Also, Kirk or a Raj, right? Or is that supposed to be A-Rod?
A-Rod? Yeah, I think it's Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I was thinking Christian Kirk.
I was
That's
too,
hilarious.
actually. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I got it now. All right, so let's answer the first one first. AB
Yeah.
Woods or Sermon? You got to sit one of them. Who are you sitting?
Okay, so I'm sitting Sermon just because I can't fully trust him. I think that Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback, is going to get a lot of snaps too. And Sermon didn't look fantastic against Green Bay, albeit it was like his first real NFL action, and it was his first start of the season. But I'm starting AB and I'm starting Woods. I know it's tough to start Woods because he hasn't been producing at the level of his teammate Cooper Kupp, but I'm still going to trust Woods in that Rams offense against the Arizona Cardinals over Trey Sermon. So I will sit Sermon and start AB and Woods.
Yeah, so I think you definitely need to start Robert Woods this week. In research done by Michael Fabiano and Jamie Eisenberg, I saw that they both had put out that against Arizona, that Robert Woods has had at least 18 points in 4 of the last 5 games he's played against them, and 3 of those being 20 or more points.
Okay.
So if we're going off track record with that, I have actually Robert Woods in a lot of DFS lineups because if that's what he's doing against that opponent that consistently, then I think you got to go there. We have a troll in the comments. I just want to acknowledge him.
What a troll.
Yeah.
Go Ravens.
Yeah, we're not that's all the acknowledgement he gets. But yeah, Antonio Brown and Sermon. See, the thing is, like, I have to decide on one of my flex spots today being Devonta Smith or Trey Sermon. And I have Devonta Smith in there right now because I'm worried about the same thing with Trey Sermon. Like, it looks like, you think it's like, hey, like, he's the only guy in the backfield. He's the guy that's going to get the carries. He's the one that should benefit against the 32nd ranked Seattle Seahawks rush defense that's just been getting absolutely annihilated. But you're right, Kyle Juszczyk's going to be a thing, and that scares me. Mm-hmm. And I think, like I said, in this question, Antonio Brown, I think, is probably the safer play. And I'm probably going Devonta Smith. I think if you have Trey Sermon, you have to be a little concerned he's not just a smash play unless we hear something prior to the game about him getting like 20 touches or something like that.
Right. And don't forget that Rob Gronkowski is doubtful. He's probably not going to play. So Antonio Brown, that opens up more targets for him. So he has a safer floor this week as well. And this is Tom Brady's revenge game. So I really like every single Bucs wideout really in this game. And then the Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers, you're starting Aaron Rodgers. Absolutely. The Steelers defense has looked pedestrian, and they are in Green Bay. So I expect Aaron Rodgers to have a great game today.
I do too. I think it's the right call there. Let's go. We have a YouTube comment we're going to tackle real quick. Start Jonathan Taylor or Miles Sanders. So Jonathan Taylor is going against the Dolphins, who have a pretty good defense. Miles Sanders is going against Kansas City, who have one of the worst run defenses, but they only went to him a few times last week. Is this a get-right game for Miles Sanders and kind of an overcompensation game? Or does last week kind of scare you off from wanting to trust him again?
So it does scare me a little bit. I've never been a Miles Sanders guy, but I do think that the Eagles get back into trying to run the ball. Now they will try, but this is a revenge game for Andy Reid of sorts. Like he's going to Philly. I think that the Chiefs are going to dominate this game. I mean, they've lost 2 in a row, which is unheard of. So I personally wouldn't play Miles Sanders over Jonathan Taylor. I'm going with Jonathan Taylor, even though he's been hurt all week. He is good to go. And if he's good enough to go in the NFL, he's good enough to be in my fantasy lineups everywhere. So I believe he's going to compete for 20 plus touches against the Dolphins. I'm rolling with JT.
I'm with you 100%. JT in this spot for sure. Let's go back to another question we got now. Are you starting Darnold or Taylor Heineke over Ryan Tannehill? And if so, which one? So first of all, I mean, it's very interesting. Tannehill, I think, has probably been one of the most questioned quarterbacks going into this week with how bad he's played. He's also down A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. It's supposed to be a Derrick Henry game. Now, Jacob, if you have Ryan Tannehill and these 2 guys are on your bench, are you subbing him out?
So I still think that Tannehill is a viable option, but I would start Darnold or Taylor Heineke over them. Those are actually my 2 favorite streamers of the week. But Darnold gets the edge because he is traveling to Dallas, and just fantasy quarterbacks and fantasy players all alike. It's just Dallas is a fantasy player's dream. I love watching games when they are played in Dallas. And I think that Darnold has a fantastic game. He has DJ Moore. Chuba Hubbard is a great is a great running back who will do work even without CMC. And I think that Robbie Anderson does get more involved this game. So I think that Darnold is a great play this week. I would play him over Tannehill. So yeah. I will go with Darnold over Heineke, but also Heineke is a great play going to Atlanta, but I would just rather grab the quarterback traveling to Dallas.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have Taylor Heineke in a lot of DFS lineups, and I have Robbie Anderson in a lot of DFS lineups. So I think those are both. I like the Robbie Anderson call there, and yeah, I think Darnold is a good. I mean, you got to start him until he shows you not to, right? I mean, he's looked great to start out the year. I think he's like quarterback like 14 or 15 in that range. He's been very consistent. He shows you he has rushing upside there too. So I'm okay with that Darnold call and Heineke, but yeah, I think you play one of those two over Ryan Tannehill in this situation. Now we have another question: Antonio Brown over DeAndre Hopkins in a pinch. Are you going there?
No, I am still starting DeAndre Hopkins. I do like AB's matchup, but it's just I can't sit Hopkins. I know it's against the Rams, but I think that Kyler has to rely on Hopkins this game to move the ball. Like Murray, I can see having 100+ rushing yards because he's going to be running for his life. But Hopkins is matchup proof and quarterback proof. So even if the ball isn't perfect, Hopkins, I can see easily having like a 7 catch for 74 yards and a touchdown game being his floor. So I'm going with that safe floor in Hopkins over AB.
I think I'm with you. I mean, you got to play your studs at that point. I know people talk about that Jalen Ramsey shadowing potentially, but he's not playing that role this year. He's playing the star position where he's kind of just going around playing some linebacker, playing some safety, playing some corner, kind of going on different spots of the field. And kind of one of those things where, DeAndre Hopkins kind of had a bad game last week. So it could be, one of those things, hey, we're going to get him right back on track, excuse me. So,
love it.
Yeah, I think I like that call there. Let's go to some more questions we got here. OBJ or Chuba Hubbard, who are you rolling with today? The format is not provided, so we'll assume it's PPR. Who would you pick?
That's a fantastic question. And I have usually leaned towards Chuba Hubbard in every single question that I get. I think that people are scared to play him over, I do like OBJ this week, but I'm playing Chuba because he has a guaranteed role. His touches at 15 are safe. So I'm going with Chuba against Dallas, which is a fantastic matchup. I do like OBJ's matchup in Minnesota. I think that he looked great last week in his first NFL action of the season. And I think that he is a sneaky DFS play. I actually have him in one of my lineups here, but I will go with Chuba Hubbard.
Okay. I'm going OBJ in this matchup, and strictly for the reason OBJ led the team in targets with 9 last week, had 5 catches, and he played over 60% of the snaps in his first game. Now, that's obviously expected to go up in this next game against the Minnesota Vikings secondary that has Patrick Peterson and Rashad Breeland, who have both been one of the worst PFF rated cornerbacks this season.
True.
And I think in a game that's expected to have a lot of volume. There's going to be this could be one of the highest scoring games on the slate. OBJ, I think without Jarvis Landry there, I think he's got a safer floor to me than a guy that you expect to step in, but might be sharing some with Royce Freeman. And I mean, again, don't get me wrong, Chuba Hubbard's a great play.
Sure.
But if I have the two of them, I'm probably leaning a little bit more OBJ for this one. Next question here. We have Trey Sermon or Tim Patrick half PPR.
Dang, that's such a good question. I actually really like Tim Patrick today. And it goes back to just we are not comfortable starting Sermon, even though he is a running back with those guaranteed touches. It's just we don't know what Kyle Shanahan's going to do. What if Trey Sermon only gets like 5 carries, Kyle Juszczyk gets 8 carries, and then he just does short screen passes to Debo and Ayuk all game just because he wants to move the ball, and Sermon didn't look effective moving the ball in Green Bay last week. So I'm not starting Sermon, even though Tim Patrick is not a slam dunk by any means. But KJ Hamler of the Broncos, he's gone for the season with an ACL tear. Jerry Jeudy isn't healthy enough to come back. So it's just Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, and Noah Fant, where the Broncos will have to pass this game in order to win. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Tim Patrick and hope that the Broncos and Bridgewater looks his way a ton. So I'm going with Patrick over Sermon.
I see in that situation, I went Sermon, and again, I feel the same ways like we talked about with Sermon, but Tim Patrick, I think it'll be mostly Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton. I know Tim Patrick could sneak in a touchdown there, but at least the touches, I think Sermon will get over the potential as the number 3 pass catcher for the Broncos. I like a little bit more of the floor that I think Sermon will offer in that situation. Obviously, the concerns are there, and it won't be the same as in our next question here, which was Saquon Barkley or Trey Sermon. Going Saquon Barkley for that one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a difficult matchup against the Saints in New Orleans, but Barkley is guaranteed 15-plus touches, and he always has that shot of like a 40-yard run. So I'm going with that upside over Sermon for sure. Let's go Barkley.
All right, fair enough. I'll start reading also the names too, because I know I want to make sure I acknowledge who sends the questions in. This is from Craig Schumann at Craig Schumann on Twitter. A-Rob, Kirk, Galladay, as far as the wide receivers. Leaning Kirk at the moment. Fields and A-Rob burned me last week. I told this guy I think you need to give A-Rob another shot this week. Yeah. And I think he's a bounce back game for him. Do you agree?
Absolutely. We said this earlier, but if you're not going to start A-Rob this week, you can't start him for the rest of the year. So this is a smash spot for him to turn his season around against the Detroit Lions. So yes, let's go with A-Rob and hope that Justin Fields can get him the ball.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Jacob, the questions are going to just keep coming for Trey Sermon. Half PPR, Trey Sermon, Michael Pittman, or Henry Ruggs III.
See, this is a really good question. Okay, so now I'm going to leave Ruggs out of it because I think that the Chargers defense is legit. So it's just between Trey Sermon and Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman has averaged 9 targets for the past 2 weeks. It's really hard to go away from Pittman. I know it hasn't been a ton of yards, but I'm still going to lean on that floor of Pittman over Sermon. I know it's really easy to go with the running back here, but I can't trust Sermon with Kyle Shanahan at the helm right now, knowing that I can have all those targets with Pittman and that upside. So I will go with Pittman here.
I agree with you. Thanks for Edgardo Carrero at EDG_sports for that one. Next question is from Jason Batesman at J Batesman. Pick 3. Nice. Or he ended up saying to pick 4 out of this group. So you pick 4 between DeAndre Swift. Is that already a lock before you even get the rest? Okay. Lock. So pick 3 out of this next group. D-Hop, Lockett, Chris Carson, Justin Jefferson, and Kareem Hunt.
Oh my gosh. Wait a minute.
So I'll give them again to you. So
those are all amazing options.
So, okay. Yeah, you pick 3 out of these 5. So D-Hop and Lockett and Jefferson are the 3 receivers. I definitely think Jefferson for me is a smash out of that.
Same.
Okay. And then Chris Carson and Kareem Hunt. So we need to pick.
Embarrassment of riches. Is this like an 8-man league? Goodness.
It must be.
I mean, so yes, it is DeAndre Swift and Justin Jefferson. Okay. So
2 more.
Now we pick 2 out of DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson, and Kareem Hunt.
Yep.
Let's go. Man, Tyler Lockett's injured. DeAndre Hopkins is coming off of a down week. Chris Carson is probably the safest play out of that group. And that's tough. But yeah, I will go with Chris Carson. He is the safest play out of the remaining players. And then out of Hunt, Locke, and Hopkins, man, I love all those. I'm shooting for the upside with Tyler Lockett against the Niners. Okay. I know that he's been hurt, but I'm going to go with Tyler Lockett over Hopkins just because of the difficult matchup. And Kareem Hunt, he does have a good matchup in Minnesota, but what if it's a Chubb week? I don't know. So I will go with the safety, or I will go with the upside of Lockett and the safety of Chris Carson, along with DeAndre Swift and Justin Jefferson.
I like it. I like a good call there. Our next question is from Jason Hastings at JHey15. 0.5 PPR, Sony Michel or Damian Harris. What do you think?
Oh, well, with Darrell Henderson back, I don't see Sony Michel carving out a huge role here. I think he'll just be like the change of pace back. But I don't want to start Damian Harris against the Bucs. Oh, this is ugly.
Is this trash or garbage? Which one would you rather have?
Trash or garbage? Trash sounds like the nicer word, so I'm going to go with Damian Harris. He sounds like the nicer play, even with a tough Bucs defense. So I'll go with the trash and Damian Harris over the garbage. So Yeah, I don't know. What do you think though, David? Man, I'm at a loss here.
I told the guy Sony Michel. The only
Okay,
reason
I get it.
because with Daryl Henderson coming back, maybe he's on a snap count, maybe he's not getting the full workload, so Sony could eat into it a little bit in a better matchup. And Damian Harris, you expect the game script to not favor him, a guy that has only 3 catches this season.
Right.
You'd expect that J.J. Taylor or somebody else is going to be the pass catching back when they're down 3 touchdowns, what it looks like they will be. And obviously it looked horrible last week. You have the Tampa Bay vaunted defense that's allowed 1 touchdown to a running back this year. So I just think I know what is going to happen with Damian Harris. Sony Michel, there's a chance that he maybe gets like a 50-50 split since Henderson's not fully healthy.
Okay.
And that's why I'm it's not a sexy play, but that's why I'm going a little bit more towards Michel.
Sure. I'm banking on like Mac Jones just like feeding Jacoby Myers the ball all the way down the field, and then Harris getting lucky with like a 1-yard plunge or something like that. Just like probably like in garbage time when they're already down by three touchdowns, like you said. But yeah, that is a tough question.
It is. Next question here we have from JR free_thinking1. Would you rather? Are you to pick 2 of these 3? Antonio Brown, Adam Thielen, and Odell Beckham.
Oh man, that's a good question. So Antonio Brown, Odell, and Thielen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can bench Thielen. He's just been on fire. You know, like the Cleveland defense isn't easy by any stretch. But I'm not benching Adam Thielen on this streak. Now it's between Odell and AB. That is such a good question. Odell has a great matchup in Minnesota.
Well, no, you have to pick 2 of the 3.
Right. So Thielen is locked.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you.
Okay, no,
gotcha.
So Thielen is locked. Now it's between AB and Odell. I think I'm going to lean on the safety of AB. I do think that he has a big game with Rob out, but it is a very tough, it is a coin flip for him, but I'm going to lean on AB in the Tom Brady revenge game and Adam Thielen.
Yeah, with Gronk not there, AB did play for the Patriots for a little time, so you got to think maybe they get him the ball since that's the closest connection now that Brady will have. I'm banking on that. Next question from Nick Davies at MaxDad007 in a PPR league. Pick 1 between Chuba Hubbard, Alexander Madison, and Emmanuel Sanders. I'm assuming Madison is now not one of these that we're choosing now that Dalvin Cook is going to be active. So between Chuba Hubbard and Emmanuel Sanders in PPR, who would you go with?
So I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard here. It is closer than you might think because Emmanuel Sanders is the number 2 option, and Josh Allen balled out last week. And against the Houston Texans, this is an easy matchup. But the weather's not fantastic in Buffalo today, so I lean Chuba Hubbard just with the safety in touches and with the matchup against Dallas. And I think that Chuba gets at least like 4 to 5 targets in this one, along with 10 to 12 rushes. So I like that floor against Dallas. I'll go with Chuba.
Yeah, I picked Chuba for this one too. I think the floor is definitely safer there. Yep. Let's go to our next question here from Ginja Ninja at Ginja Ninja 2424. It's an awesome name.
Love it.
Since Claypool was ruled out, I need a wide receiver 3 non-PPR, Curtis Samuel or Jalen Waddle. I still went with Waddle because I think Samuel could be on a snap count.
Yep.
And even though I know PPR doesn't count catches, Waddle did touch the ball 12 times last week.
Yeah.
So I would think that he's got definitely a lot higher upside in this matchup. Would you go with Waddle as well?
You said it, my man. It's Waddle for me too. I can't trust Samuel in any lineup I have. I have him in a few leagues, but I am waiting to see. And just because, like you said, his snaps probably won't even be half today. They'll probably be like somewhere between 30 and 40%. And I can't trust that. So I will go with Waddle as well. And Waddle is a very safe play to me with a very high floor. Like you said, David, 12 touches last week. That's great. I'm going with Waddle.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I think this is the most we've been on the same page of the first month we've been doing these shows. It's a good feeling. So hopefully that leads to good results here.
That's right, dude. Love it. Cheers.
Next question. You got the better mug. I just got a clear cup. You got a Halloween mug. That's the way to do this. I need to do some shopping.
Courtesy of my wife. She was like, "Here you go. You got to be festive." I was like, "Thank you." Best wife ever.
Very, very, very smart.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next question here. It's quarterback question. Derek Carr or Taylor Heineke?
I'm going to go Taylor Heineke here. Derek Carr is one of my sits this week because the Chargers have been giving quarterbacks fits this week at home, or have been giving fits to quarterbacks all year in LA. Like they made Dak look pedestrian 2 weeks back. So I'm going to go with Heineke here with the upside, his rushing ability in Atlanta. I think that's a great matchup. I'm going to go with Heineke here. I know it's hard to bench Carr because he's been so great so far, but I do think that the Chargers humble him this week. So I'm going to go Heineke.
I went Heineke as well. I was very much with you on that too. I think Heineke is the safer play, better matchup. And sometimes the name can take you away from what you think will actually do the production. And Carr's not one of those set it and forget it studs.
Right.
So you can definitely maneuver there. Let's go to another YouTube comment we have here from Boss Man Fat. This is our guy. This is one of the best names in the business here.
Love that Boss Man Fat. What's up, dude?
You got Jonathan Taylor, Melvin Gordon, Nyheim Hines, PPR. So, and he's got two in the same backfield. This is a. It seems like an easy question, and I think we'll probably both say Taylor. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But Nyheim Hines is like, there's a little part of me, Jacob, that says Nyheim Hines could be worth it this week. I think it's one of those. If you're feeling lucky, you're wearing your lucky set of underwear, you bought a lottery ticket or something. I think you go Hines. But I think if you're like, you know what, I got to play it safe. We know who's expected to get that much volume. I think you got to go JT. Is that how you feel as well?
I like your reasoning there with like, if you want that upside, go with Hines. But if this were my team with no other, with no other context, like just like in a vacuum, I'm going with JT. He is a top 10 play for me this week. And then also I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon because I think that the Broncos lean on Gordon in all, I think that the Broncos are going to be in a negative game script this week. And they're going to show their hand that they trust Gordon over Javonte right now, just because it's so early in the season. I think that they trust Gordon over Javonte, and I think that Gordon is a decent flex play this week. I would trust Gordon over Hines. I get the upside thing, David, but I'm just going to go with the safety pick here.
I can totally understand that. Both on board with JT, and then Bossman Fat, if you have a second one, go with how you feel for that one. But appreciate your question as always, my man. Let's go to another Twitter question. We got 0.5 PPR. So this is a 3-part question, so we'll go one at a time here. Okay. This is from Chuck at CBB Charlie 17. 0.5 PPR, Miles Sanders or Chase Edmonds. So that's the first part.
Okay.
Between Miles Sanders, I think I'd go Miles Sanders. But
I would too. It's not that far off. But against the Rams, that's gonna be a tough game for Edmonds, and I do think that Sanders gets more integrated into the offense. Even though it's gonna be a tough matchup against the Chiefs haven't looked stellar on defense. So I do think that some of these Eagles eat today. In terms of fantasy, I think that the Chiefs kill them, but some like Sanders will do well, and Hurts will do well, and Smith will do well. And I can see Ertz having like a quiet game, but I would trust Sanders over Edmonds.
I would too. So the next part, full PPR, Hollywood Brown or Corey Davis.
I'm gonna go with Hollywood Brown. Even though it's a tough matchup in Denver, I think that Hollywood has been having an amazing year so far. He had some drops last week that were just bonehead drops, but I think that he turns it around, and he has a decent game this week. I would much rather trust Hollywood Brown on the Ravens than Corey Davis on the Jets. So I'll go with Hollywood.
I get that. I went Corey Davis for this one. Also, the revenge game narrative in there.
Oh, sure.
Expected to have a negative game script. He's getting a 22% target share. So I would think that he might have a safer floor. But the last part is a 2-quarterback league, Jared Goff or Jacoby Brissette.
Wow. I'm going to go with Goff. He's been a quiet fantasy producer this year. Like he's definitely in the top 20. So I'm going to go with Goff, and I think that he can move the ball against Chicago. He has the weapons to do it with Swift and with Jamal Williams and with Hopkins. So I'll go with Goff. I think he's safer.
Yeah, I think this one's a very ugly call to make.
Yeah.
I don't disagree there. I think that's the right call. Let's get one more question in here, and we'll go one more YouTube comment. Beat the buzzer here.
What's
I'm between starting Jacoby or Kirk in the flex full PPR.
All right.
When I first look at this, I think I'm going Jacoby Myers because Tampa Bay's 32nd against the pass this year, and they're going to have to throw to keep up with being down as much as they will be. Kirk is kind of right now, he's been better this year, but I don't think he's shown any type of consistency to trust him yet. Yeah. Are you with the same, that's kind of same thought there, or you differ here?
100%. I was hoping that someone would ask more questions about Jacoby because I love him this week. All right. Last week, he hauled in 9 of 14 targets. All right. He was targeted 14 times in New England Patriots' first negative game script game. So you know that Mac Jones is going to lean on Jacoby. Like you said, the Patriots are going to be down big this game. Jacoby's going to get a lot of play. I think that he's a lot safer than Kirk, especially in a full PPR league. I think that Myers is a borderline wide receiver 2 play in PPR leagues, and I'll go Jacoby. You know what I mean?
Jacoby.
Like
love it. That you should patent that if it hasn't existed yet.
Let's go.
Which Chiefs here? I'm John Van Etten. Oh my God.
Oh man.
I don't even know if I want to answer. He actually has a real question in there. I know. John from Triple Play Fantasy. I don't even know why I even showed that comment. But we'll do a last one here. Ayuk or Galladay? I'm going Ayuk.
I'm going Ayuk as well. I think that Galladay gets shut out by Lattimore. And even though he's the only option, that's going to work against him because he's just going to get double teamed and Lattimore's going to shut him down. I would much rather have Ayuk. I think he's the safer play, and he played on 86% of snaps last week. So I think he's safe to play this week.
I agree with you 100%. But on that note, we're going to close out the show. We didn't get to every question. There were a few more on Twitter we didn't get to, but again, send them in to Jacob or myself. We'll answer them before kickoff. Appreciate you guys every single week for tuning in to the Start Sit Show here on the Triple Play Fantasy YouTube channel, Twitter page, all that good stuff. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel if you have not already, as you get to see great content throughout the week to help you win your leagues, obviously before Sunday here. Pick up the waiver wire players you need to get on the Tripwire Show. Of course, Jacob and Kevin break things down on the Super Fantasy Bros as far as looking at the week ahead and looking back at the previous week. And we have a little bit of in between with the Triple Play Fantasy Football Show that goes on in between those two shows. So all the great stuff that's there. Jacob, anything you want to say to the people as you get ready to head to Mile High Stadium?
Let's go. I just want to say thank you guys for trusting us with your questions. Let's win week 4 and cheers, guys.
Cheers on that. So everybody have a great week 4. Enjoy whatever you're doing with your family, your friends. Hopefully you win some money or you beat your friends head to head in your fantasy league.
Yes.
Jacob and I will be back here next Sunday, same time, same place. So we will see you guys next week.